Good morning, YouTube. What is up? Been a while since we've been live. Not gonna lie to you. The main reason I went live again is because my wife was pestering me and said she missed me going live. Funny enough, I think I went live during her workout class, so she's still not gonna be able to join. But I did go live this time. I hope y'all are having a great morning. If you're new here, if you don't know what's going on, I've been doing this for months at this point, but a lot of it's been just posted on YouTube. But essentially what I do is give you a little bit of behind the scenes look at what it's like running a business in disc golf in a very small niche sport. Give you updates on what's going on at Foundation, give you updates on what's going on in my life, all of that fun stuff. So as we wait for some people to roll in, both on Instagram and on YouTube, towards the end of the show, we'll take some questions, do some Q&As, answer some of the questions that y'all already asked over on Instagram. But just some reminders, this week we have from MVP the Particle Proxy, which is that Silva Saarinen Proton Particle Glow Proxy. Looks like we have a Glow Wave and a Glow Watt, as well as the stock range, Hex and Spin and a Deflector, all dropping from MVP this week over FoundationDisc.com, which is exciting. We have a Legacy Discs restock, which is the first time we've had that in a while. It looks like we have the Sumo, the Recluse, which is in my bag. I absolutely love the Recluse, the Badger, the Mongoose, and I'm sure we might have some other molds as well. From Prodigy, we have their Waco disc, which is a mid-range. From them, we have the stock feedback, some 300 ultra soft plastic, and a general restock from Prodigy. We also have some more Innovator series, like the Jennifer Allen Proto Glow Champ T-Bird and the Philo Star Destroyer, which is a lightweight pop-top destroyer. Looks like people are getting some sick flights out of those. From House of Discs, we have a Gannon Burr Huck Lab P2X, and we also have some Tournament Ring Kings and Underworlds. And then we also have a Ripped Revenge and Ripped Showdown restock going on. So a lot happening over at FoundationDisc.com this weekend, which is super exciting, fun stuff there. So check all of that out, especially you MVP fans, which I know there's a lot of you. A lot of fun MVP stuff dropping this week. But one thing I wanted to highlight is we didn't do this show last week, so I wanted to pop on here and go over the top 25 best-selling discs for February, because people always find this interesting. I'm one of those people, and we track it, so why not share it with you? So we'll start at number 25, because I find the bottom of this list more interesting than the top. I'll explain why when we get to the top. So coming in number 25, we have the Discraft Buzz OS, very underrated mold, but good to see it in the top 25. Number 24, the Discmania P3X, which is an overstable Darwin putter. I believe we had the Gannon Burr P3X's drop last month, so of course that's going to get into the top 25. Number 23, the Discraft Thrasher, another very underrated mold. Really wish that was getting in there more often. I'm going to race through some of these, get us close to the top 10. We have the Sidewinder Rock 3 from Innova coming up next. Latitude 64 Peak dropped last month, so that got inside the top 20. The Innova Destroyer, Discraft Zone OS, Discmania Function, Discraft Meteor, the Innova Mamba just sneaks into the top 15. Then we have the Discraft Buzz SS, the Eagle L, which was Sophia Donicky's Tour Series disc, got it to the top 13. Nukes come in at 12, Avenger SS comes in at 11, and we're in the top 10. So number 10, the Innova Gorgon, which has been really a staple in the top 10 ever since it's released. The Gorgon's been absolutely a great seller in general. Number 9, we had the Axiom Tempo, which this was, I forget what this release was. It might have been the Germ Tempos, if I'm remembering correctly, the actual stock release. Well, not stock release, but we had the pre-sale before. And then we have we had the pre-sale before, and then now we have the actual release of them. And then above that we have the Gateway Wizard coming in at number 8, Robbie C Wizards. That's the big one. Then the Axiom Proxy came in at number 7. This was the Silva Saarinen pre-sale. So that's why that comes in at number 7 there. It'll probably get into our top 25 again this month when we're looking at the actual stock release this week. The Streamline Range dropped last month, so that got to number 6. Number 5 was the Discmania MD3. That is mainly thanks to the Birdie Hunter MD3s, which dropped, which are awesome. Number 4, we had the Gateway Shaman, Connor Shaman. Number 3, the Discraft Zone. This was mainly due to the Confetti Zone, which have sold out on our site, but the Brody Smith Get Freaky Confetti Zones dropped. So those were sick. Number 2, Hooligan Cash, Trevor's signature disc. The Trevor Staub Cash got number 2. Then number 1, the Discraft Buzz. We had a Fused Buzz restock there. So that's what happened there. But why I always find this list interesting is pretty much every month it is dominated by personality stamps. So like if we look in the top 10 and we look at just foundation adjacent personalities, we have a Brody Smith Zone, we have a Trevor Staub Cash, we have a Connor Shaman, we have my MD3, and we have Robbie C's Wizard. And the demand for those just keeps increasing. Like we went down to Disc South. We went down to Disc South last weekend, 2 weeks ago, which I never got to really talk about because I recorded a whole episode and it crashed on me, and so we lost it last week. But we went to Disc South, and that was like the number one thing that was being asked for. We brought Connor Shamans and Hunter Birds, and all of it sold out on Saturday, and that was like everyone was asking for it on Sunday. So we were like kind of before we went down there asking ourselves like how much longevity do these personality stamps have? And the answer is apparently a lot more. So yeah, always interesting to see that, at least for me. I find it very interesting to see that personality stamp discs are still kind of dominating the sales right now, which is awesome. It wouldn't be coffee break if I didn't tell you what I was drinking. This is Ethiopian Yirgacheffe that was sent to me by, his name was Austin, and I'm blanking on his coffee roasting name. Austin, if you're watching, please put it in the chat. I think it was Promenade Roasters, I believe is his company. He just started a coffee company and sent me a bunch of bags. Well, sent the office a bunch of bags. I ended up taking all of them. I don't think anyone else in the office really makes coffee at home. So I just got like 6 bags of coffee for free, which was awesome. But I've been drinking this Ethiopian Yirgacheffe all week. And by all week, I mean I started on Friday. So great stuff. Thank you, Austin. Okay. Final thing I want to do before we get into the Q&As, because we got a lot of great questions. I want to get to those. And obviously, y'all who are watching live, I want to give you opportunities to ask questions as well. But before we do that, it's March 11th. I'm slacking. I need to decide on my putter for this month. So if you don't know how I do this, is basically I take last month's worst selling putter. So it must have at least sold one. That way it doesn't get affected by like stock. If we have 0 in stock of something, it can't be on the list. Has to have at least sold one. And then we also have to still have them in stock. It is Promenade Coffee. Awesome. Thank you, Jason. We also have to have some in stock. So has to have at least sold one, have to have some in stock currently. Those are the 2 rules to determine what molds are on the list that I could possibly putt with. This month we have 3 molds on the list. I'm really excited about all 3, to be honest with you. So we have the Dynamic Disc Warden, we have the DGA Sonar, and we have the Stokely Discs Wren. The Stokely Discs Wren's been on the list. This is now its 3rd time. So what we have to decide between, and I'll need y'all's help, trying to decide how to do this. The best way to do this, I feel like I can put a poll in the chat. I'm going to start a poll in the YouTube chat, and whatever wins it is going to be what wins it. My putter for March. So if you're on Instagram, I'm sorry. I'm doing this over on YouTube, but it's just the easiest way. So we have the Stokely Discs Wren, we have the Dynamic Discs Warden, and we have the... what did I say the 3rd one was? The Sonar from DGA. All right, I'm starting the poll over on YouTube. There we go. So we'll see what comes up. We'll see what comes up over on YouTube. The Sonar is absolutely dominating right now. The Sonar is selfishly the one I want to win, but we'll see. We'll see. The Sonar is like a PA3. You'll love it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Ezra Robinson's putting with the Sonar, so I was kind of surprised to see it on this list in general, but I think not a lot of people know that Ezra's putting with the Sonar. But we still have a decent bit in stock, so I'd be excited to try the Sonar. The Wren, the Wren basically feels like a P2, so that wouldn't be fun. That wouldn't be bad. And the Warden, I've putted with the Warden before. So, yeah, we'll see what it lands on. But, all right, we're going to let that keep rolling. We'll decide what we ends up with. It's leaning towards the Sonar, but we are going to now answer some questions. So if you got any questions, fire away in the chat. I see one just came in from Jazzy James. Are we going to see a resurgence of the Foundation Nation YouTube channel? A lot of people have been asking this or wondering this ever since we posted our Dude Perfect vlog over on there. So yes and no. We have plans for the Foundation Nation channel, but it is not going to come back in the same vein. Mainly, the first video is going to be posted probably like 2 to 3 weeks from now. But essentially, the thought process behind it was we have seen with disc golf that the greatest chance of success on YouTube is to niche down. So essentially what we found with the Foundation Nation channel is those videos were, because our end goal, obviously, with an outside of disc golf YouTube channel is to be able to grow an audience, build a base over there, and then kind of be able to, if they like our personalities, they like what's going on over there, be able to introduce them to what's going on in disc golf, right? And so we like the idea of having that channel, but it has to make financial sense. So we're trying to figure out a way to bring that channel back to where we can have fun doing something outside of disc golf, just creating content, realistically just to have some fun doing it. That is not a waste of time, because the Foundation Nation channel at the end of the day was just a waste of resources. Its existence was what allowed us to have a Wednesday video, which is awesome. So that's why you end up getting a Wednesday video at the end of the day. But long story short, we're going to relaunch the Foundation Nation channel in a different way, focusing on a niche. And then hopefully if that channel is able to grow, the Foundation Disc Golf, obviously that's our main focus. That'll continue to grow. And then if we can get, a few other channels to continue to grow, then we can bring back a Foundation Nation type channel where we have a bunch more personalities living in the sphere around it. Because essentially a channel like that is always going to be a subset of your different levels of audience. So if you can build out a big enough audience around, then you can have a channel like that succeed. But to have a channel like that where we basically have our disc golf audience that is 50,000 consistent viewers, 40 to 50,000 consistent viewers, you're only going to get a small percentage of those to go watch a different channel. And when it's not niched down, basically the only people that are going to watch a variety channel are people who are already fans of you. That's what we found. So essentially you take 50,000 some people, we were getting 10 to 20% of those people to come watch. So it wasn't actually really growing an audience. It was just kind of re-engaging our current audience. So yes, we have plans for Foundation Nation channel. No, it will not be the same. Let me see. Okay, the sonar, I think we're good to lock the sonar in. Yeah, the sonar is absolutely dominating. We're going to end the poll there at 45%. So the sonar is my putter from March. I'm really excited about that. Really, really excited about that. That's going to be super sick. So, okay. I want to get to some of the questions that were asked from Instagram. So keep throwing questions in the chat. I'm reading them. I will get to your questions as well. But I wanted to get to some of the ones that were asked over on Instagram before I went live, because they were just on the story, and I got to respect those people. Will Hudson said, how would you go about the risk of starting a business now that you have a kid? So the best time to start a business, realistically, just risk-wise, is when you are just out of high school or just out of college, you're living with your parents, and you have no expenses, because then there's no risk, right? The only thing you're risking is time. So if I were to take 7 months and throw it all away and make $0 trying to build this business, then all I am is back 7 months of where I could have been if I went and worked a job, right? And it's okay, that's an easy risk to make. As you get older and all of a sudden you have wife, kids, mortgage, yada, 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 the risk of starting a business goes up. But not necessarily the risk of starting a business. The risk of going full-time with a business goes up. So what I would do if I were starting a business today versus when I started one 6 years ago is, honestly, I'd do a similar thing to what I did, which is I would start it as a side hustle while working my full-time thing. So back when I started Foundation, I was doing, so I basically was working 30 to 40 hours a week at my brother's coffee shop, which is funny enough next door. And I went to school while I was working. So I was working there. And then I started doing freelance graphic design and social media management while I was working there, because that allowed me to basically, the hours I wasn't doing that or school, the hours I wasn't working or doing school, I could work on that. Grew my client base there. And then when I had to go do my internship for graphic design, it was too many hours where I had to quit my job. So I quit my coffee job and did my internship for graphic design and still did my freelance graphic design. And at this point in my life, I was married and my wife was working full-time as well. And that is when I started Foundation. So that's when me, Paul, and Zach started Foundation. And then it was a year and a half before I went full time with Foundation. So for that year and a half, I was doing Foundation and I was managing all of my like graphic design, social media management clients, right? And then when Brody bought in, basically Foundation started taking off and I stopped taking on clients and then let it die out and went full time with Foundation. So that's essentially what I would do if I was starting it now with the like all the responsibilities of having a kid, you know, being married, like having a mortgage, all of that stuff. Is if you already are able to live and survive with your current job, then I would just use your hours you're not working, use your hours after your kids go to sleep to start your business, focus on growing it. And then once you feel like it has potential to replace your income, or it's at least making enough income that if you quit your job today and you were only making what your, you know, business was making, you would be able to survive for at least a little bit, or at least you have 6 to 9 months of savings where if your business made no money, you could still survive for a little bit and give yourself a buffer. Then I would jump in. So that's my advice there. But yeah. Okay, let's see. Let me get another question here. Oh, so a lot of people have been asking about if I don't have hair or something because I'm always wearing a hat. I do. I just prefer to wear a hat because I don't have to worry about my hair. So I just buzz my head, wear a hat, boom, solved. Russell Hansen said, can we get a rundown of what everyone's specific roles are within Foundation from a business perspective? So I'll just go over our full-time employees. So Trevor is technically the director of marketing or the head of our media team, depending on how you want to look at it. But he's essentially responsible for the scheduling and workflow and all of that of all of our main pieces of content that go out. So all of the YouTube channel content, all of that, scheduling when they get filmed, planning those out. He's also responsible for the execution of all of our brand deals. So when we land a brand deal, the copy gets sent to Trevor. Trevor works with whoever he needs to work with to get that taken care of. And then all of our marketing efforts as far as like the actual marketing plans. That's kind of a collaborative effort between Trevor and I, but it's on Trevor's plate. That's what Trevor does. Connor is our lead editor, is his technical role name, but essentially he films 60% of our main channel videos. I guess technically 66% because he films 2 out of 3. And then he edits the ones he films, and then he's in the one he doesn't film. He also produces Grip Locked podcasts, and then he'll like take pictures for use on social media and our email, stuff like that. Silas is he edits for Robbie C. He also edits our Wednesday videos, and he's our producer. So any shows that have to be produced, such as our debate night preview show, he was working on Tour Life. He just stopped working on Tour Life, but he's going to pick up editing for the other channel. So that's what Silas does. Brad is basically the director of operations or the chief operating officer, however you want to look at it, but he's oversees all of the retail operations. So e-commerce, in-store. He also does our ad sales. So he's the one that actually goes out and lands the brand deals and pairs them with different pieces of content and then sends that to Trevor, and Trevor works on the execution. And then Jason is the final full-time employee, and he is basically the head of customer experience. I always call him, he's our vibes guy. That's not an official title, but it just is the one that makes the most sense to me because he manages both the internal team and the front-facing customer experience side. So he manages the retail store hourly employees, their schedules, all of that. He puts together our like team building events and all of that stuff, and then he handles the customer service. So all of the customer service stuff goes through Jason. So that's all of our full-time employees, what they do day to day. Okay, another question from Instagram story. He said, with this from Yes Xavier, with all the negative talk about the Disc Golf Pro Tour, have you all ever considered reaching out for a collaboration? We talk to the Pro Tour semi-consistently, I'll say. So yes, we've actually collaborated with them several times in the past. We're going to do some stuff at Music City. Last year we were did an affiliate deal with them to help get our audience discount on DGN and help drive traffic there. When we go to certain events, we'll get access to like Music City. We're going to be able to film practice rounds with like Brody and our pros, Ezra, and hopefully Trinity as well. We'll be able to film some practice rounds with them. And in that, we will also tag and drive traffic to the Pro Tour. We're going to do that again at another Pro Tour event. We have not landed on anything, but we're consistently talking pretty much every year, just trying to figure out, like, is there anything advertising-wise that makes sense for both brands? And basically just where Foundation's at, and with our marketing budget, we just need to spend more money elsewhere currently before we get to where we're trying to spend money to advertise with the Pro Tour. So yes, we are collaborative both ways. I'm assuming you're talking about the negative talk when it comes to like the in general disc golf media, which I'll answer the next question in a second. But we in general are very fond of the Pro Tour. I think that they do a phenomenal job. We're critical, and we try to hold the PDGA and the Pro Tour, like, basically if something doesn't make sense, we will talk about it because we're not on anyone's payroll. So if, I think that's where people have a different perception, but like the actual people at the Pro Tour, like I had a call with the president of the Pro Tour, the new president, Dominic, and we had a very productive phone call for like 30, 40 minutes just talking about how Foundation views the sport, the Pro Tour's future of the sport. We have a great relationship with Jeff Spring. And I think that, a lot of what they're doing makes perfect sense. And yeah, so I think a lot of times where it comes from is people get frustrated with the Pro Tour because they are very methodical with their steps. They are taking steps slowly to build what we want in disc golf instead of just snapping their fingers and making it happen. But you have to do that. You can't just, if you made big changes, they would tick off way more people. So I think they're doing it the right way. And if you look at kind of the like behind the scenes direction of everything's going, I feel like 98% of it is good. But it's way easier to talk about the 2% that's bad for a lot of people than the 98% that's good. So that's my thoughts. But DMan2397 asked the question, I'm assuming this is where this is all coming from, which is thoughts on Disc Golf World not getting a media pass for the Pro Tour this year. So this one I have tried to educate myself on, but I don't quite. It's hard to kind of hear both sides of every story because that not all the information's out there. Well, I think all the Disc Golf World information's out there, but I think the Pro Tour hasn't fully made a clear statement. So it's a little bit hard to know exactly why, because if it's straight up like, because here's the deal. I think Disc Golf World, obviously a lot of their content was basically taking the Disc Golf Pro Tour content and then talking over it, and more or less providing a like, hey, this is what's going on in disc golf right now, which we need as much of that as we can get, right? And at least in my opinion, I think we need as much people just talking about disc golf, generating disc golf content as we can get. Now, the majority of their content, I think, can continue happening. Like, I think they still can do exactly what they were doing. It's just they can't go out and film at every Pro Tour event. So this is where the lines get a little blurry for me as to like, okay, what's actually going on? Because it seemed like the story I heard was more or less they were told, like, if you're not going to be full-time on tour, you're not going to get media passes. Okay, fine. But then why is the part I never really heard, and it seemed like Disc Golf World never really heard. What I'm curious about is we have in the past worked to get media passes, and there's like this weird line as content creators where it seems like Disc Golf World was in their affiliate program, the Pro Tour's affiliate program as content creators. And essentially that program exists, from what I've been told, to get channels off the ground, to help new channels out, help them get access to stuff to be able to like grow their channels. But because of where we have been, where we have a, within disc golf, a rather large channel, then you've essentially you reach a level where that affiliate program is not for you anymore. And so you can't go through that to get media access. And then you have to work directly with the Pro Tour to get media access, and it looks different. So we have never, this is where I don't know, is we have never asked the question they asked of, can we get media access at every single Pro Tour event? So that's where I don't know, is that the problem, or is Disc Golf World the problem? Like, is the Pro Tour saying, Disc Golf World, no, we don't want you at any events, period, ever. We don't like your content, blah, blah, blah. Or is the Pro Tour saying, you can't have access to all, like any event you want, you have to go through these hoops unless you're going to be a full-time media person. Because those are two different things. And that's where I don't know, if it's just like a lack of communication going on or what, because like for us, basically how I'm perceiving it is, and this is just speculation on my end, is maybe the disc golf world was in this like creator affiliate program and then got too big where they can't be a part of that creator affiliate program. So now they have to go through the other hoops to get media passes, and it's different to get media passes through that hoop. So now they have to play by a different set of rules, and the different set of rules is what's like basically like, oh, if you want media passes to every event, you got to be on tour full time at every event. And they're like, we don't want to do that, because like for us, we have to reach way out in advance, and we have to work with them on, okay, we're coming to Music City. We need X amount of media passes. This is the type of access we want. And we have to work back and forth on that specific event and get that specific event figured out. And then we have to move on to the next one we're coming to and get that specific event figured out. Is that the best way to do it? I don't know. Obviously, as a content creator, I see the value in content creation. I think as many content creators should be allowed to be at Pro Tour events as possible. I feel like that's just good for the sport. But I also understand that they're trying to run a professional tour, and they want as few people inside the ropes as possible, and the most necessary media needs to be the only people inside the ropes, and I agree with all of that. So it's a very weird line. So I don't really know. I need to hear more from both sides until I have a like official opinion on like, because if the Pro Tour basically said, we don't like the type of content you put out, you're not allowed at our events, I think that's a really dumb move. I think it's a really bad idea, mainly because like all press is good press if you're the Disc Golf Pro Tour at the end of the day. And if what they're talking about is actually negative and actually stuff that needs to change, why don't you just change that instead of stiff arming them? But if it's, no, you're welcome to come to our events, you just got to go through these hoops now. You can't just come to whatever event you want. We can't just grant you media passes. Well, then I'm on the side of the Pro Tour. That makes perfect sense. So, yeah, basically until we know more, I don't know. I don't have thoughts. Okay, let's get some more questions from, I just scrolled down and lost my place. So sorry, you can re-ask questions if I missed it. But let me see if there's any other questions on Instagram I've been missing. D's Putz said, are you ever going to bring back Bogey Bro battles? Yes, they will be coming back. Not in the same level. Like, we're not going to be doing it every month like we were before, but we will be doing Bogey Bro battles again, which is exciting. They'll just be spread out a little bit more. Boyd said, how many videos does Foundation actually produce across all channels every week? Phenomenal question. Monday, Grip Locked. Tuesday, we have a main channel video, and we have Tour Life. Wednesday, we have a main channel video, and we have Debate Night. Thursday, we have a main channel video, and we typically, during the Pro Tour season, have the preview show. Friday, we have Weekly Warehouse and In the Bag podcast. And then Monday, if you want to factor in, we have the Trevor Staub Disc Golf channel. And then also Tuesday and Thursday, Robbie C's under our belt. So we have the 2 pieces of content from Robbie C. And then we have the Putting League stream every Wednesday. So 13 on YouTube every week. Hunter Craig said, do you believe the Pro Tour has tried to move into the paid content space too fast? Should they have put more time and money into expanding its client base first? That is such a hard one to know, because I think that the problem is where they're at now, they can't go back, right? Like where once you have that consistent revenue stream where you have a subscription model, the risk is too big to go back on it. So I don't know. I wish that there was more free content, especially the live stream, because I think that's what has the chance of growing the sport. But I get the need to have paid. So, I think it could be something where if it was up to me, what I would like to see is flipping back to the old way of if you want to pay to watch live disc golf, then you're going to get rounds 1, 2, and 3 for like through the paid, and then final round is free on YouTube. I would like to see that again. I think that has good growth potential, and I don't think they would sacrifice that much revenue because a lot of us who are paying to watch live disc golf we're not just paying just to see the final day. So I think that you would still have that, and then the viewership on the final day could be much bigger than the viewership on the first day. So I'd like to see that, but I understand the risk behind that, right? Of, okay, well, what if we do that and then our subscription base drops in half? You know, that's the type of questions where, like, you have to be scared of that type stuff. So I did hear somewhere where, like, I think this would be a good idea, that someone suggested the Pro Tour moving to, like, instead of it being a year-long type of a model, basically doing a, like, season type of a model. So basically pricing it in a way that it's, like, just, you know, February through October, because November, December, January, there's, like, nothing going on DGN. So instead of it being annual, you could just basically have, you know, 10 minutes before, $10 per month for, like, February to whatever. You could have, like, that type of thing. I don't know. I think that could work, but it's a tough one. They've backed themselves into a corner now. They have to kind of do it. So, okay, let me get more on few more questions here. Grady Hample said, what's your opinion on Discmania banning players from using Innova-made plastic? So I have not confirmed this yet, but I feel like it was mentioned in someone's vlog is where this all came from. So I don't know if that's, like, this specific person or if this is all of Discmania. But regardless, I think it's a great idea. I think this is what should be happening. Discmania, like, they have good discs now. They have a full lineup now of their own made plastic. And you don't want people throwing discs that just don't exist anymore, because, like, an Innova-made MD3, the MD3 still exists, but they're two different molds. They're two different discs, right? So you don't want players on tour throwing the Innova-made MD3, and especially if it's being, like, publicized, or, like, the Innova-made PD2 or stuff like that, because then essentially, yes, it's the same thing. Like, Ganon's throwing an MD3, he's throwing an MD3, whatever, but it's not, because at the end of the day, I want to throw what Ganon's throwing. I'm going to be looking for an MD3, and, like, a lot of people just aren't even going to know that that's a different thing. So to me, it's like sending a message of our current stuff's not as good as our old stuff. That's the message that gets sent when you have the best players in the world choosing to throw the old stuff instead of your newly made stuff. So to me, it makes perfect sense. I think that Discmania should do that, because it's not the same company. Like, I get it's the same logo, but it's not the same company. It's not the same manufacturer. So, yeah. So Wedgie said Ganon, Burr, and Casey White have both come out and said they're required to swap. Yeah, so that's why I don't know if it's like an individual thing. But to me, I think that it should be just a widespread. Every Discmania player now has to just throw actually Discmania discs. So, yeah. Oldman Disc Golf said, what advice do you have for new retailers who just started ordering discs to sell on our website? You got to find something that sets you apart. So you got to find a reason for people to shop with you over, you know, Infinite, OTB, us, Marshall Street, whatever. You got to find something that sets you apart, and then let everyone know what you do. Let's see. Breezy Small said, what impact did Ezra being on lead coverage all tournament and then winning have on Foundation? In the grand scheme of things, it's a... So we'll answer this in two different ways. What direct impact did it have? So basically, how does this week look different than 2 weeks ago? 0. So direct impact, none, right? Or very negligible. Like maybe a few people used this. I think a few people used like the discount code we put out and like stuff like that. So like they're very small. But as far as like direct impact of people now view Foundation in a whole new light, and you know, thousands and thousands of people were going to our site because his name was on it, that didn't happen. And I didn't expect that to happen. We sponsored Ezra because we believe in Ezra's personality and Ezra's brand and how it aligns with Foundation's brand and what we can build with that. We didn't sponsor Ezra because we think our logo on the back of his shirt is all of a sudden going to bring in a bunch of revenue. But what it does do is longer term, it does increase, how do I word this? It does, basically it does continue to add to the bucket of validifying Foundation's brand and Foundation's vision. So it does basically, in the minds of people who already perceive Foundation a certain way, it is one additional piece to the puzzle that builds how you view our brand. So long term, how would his continued performance and continue winning, it would have an impact on Foundation, but it's never going to be directly measurable, in my opinion. It's never going to be like, we can trace this all back to signing Ezra. It's more going to be like, it is one more piece of the puzzle that is building Foundation's brand image. And so, again, we didn't sign Ezra with the intention of basically like his performance on the course directly affecting us as a business, but we believe in him as a player, but more importantly, him as a personality, him as a person, and how it meshes with Foundation. And we know that his fans will like Foundation. Foundation fans will like Ezra. It's a really good pairing, and we can do stuff with him throughout the year. But yeah, I think hopefully that makes sense. So Christopher Merkel said, what's your favorite Bible verse? Colossians 3:23 has always been my favorite verse. 1 Corinthians 10:31 also has a similar vibe, but both of them are saying, whatever you do, do it all for the Lord, not for men. So funny enough, the youth group I grew up in was called 1031, and it was from that verse, but then Colossians 3:23 was on our wall in our gym. But both of them speak to a very similar thing of basically, whatever you do on earth, it's not for yourself, it's not for other people's praise, it's strictly for the Lord. And that's always been a big motivating factor for me of like, when I'm doing something, I'm giving my all, not for any other reason than to bring glory to the Lord. So Colossians 3:23 has always been my life verse. Okay, David said the Discmania stuff is anyone that has signed a new contract with them this year and going forward. So it's okay. Just basically as people re-up with Discmania, that's where it is. So Aaron Lang, more of a personal, less of a business question. If people are coming down to visit the in-person store, is there any way to have you and some of the guys sign some discs? So yes, if we're here, basically whenever you walk in, come just like ask whoever's working if we're here, and if we're here, we'll come out, sign the discs, take pictures, whatever. We do that all the time. But we also, and they're sitting on our table to finish right now, we try to always have minis that are signed by like me, Trevor, and Connor, so that if you come in and we're not there and you ask the guy at the front, whoever's working, they can at least hand you that. So you at least have something. So we try to at least have those. Like I said, we're out of them right now. I'm signing some more right now, and Connor, when he gets back in town tomorrow, will sign them. So we'll have more there. But if you come in while we're in the office, yeah, we'll pop out and say hi, for sure. Shay said, piggybacking, are we seeing retailers regain lost control this year? Discmania is making their players throw the stuff they've made. MVP seems to have made all their players use their bag. I'm assuming you mean manufacturers regain lost control. But I think it's just people are like manufacturers just wisening up on like, we need our pros pushing the stuff that players can use and players can throw. At the end of the day, that's why the players are there. That's what they exist for. And MVP, as far as I know, I think Eagle's still using a Squatch bag or Octothorpe bag, if I'm not mistaken. But I know Simon switched his bag over. But like, again, it just makes sense. Like, if that's the person paying your bills and paying you the most and they ask you to do this, then you're going to do it. So Ginger Musician said, why don't you talk/promote more about y'all's Patreon? I found it out by pure luck, and y'all have great extra content on there. We do a really bad job on promoting a lot of stuff we have going on. And to be honest with you, I think it's because we all juggle too much. And so we just kind of forget what we need to push and how we need to push it and everything. Because like, for instance, on Instagram, if you DM Foundation's account the word deals, you will get responded to you can join our text deal program. So it'll respond to you, ask you for your phone number. It'll send you a text. You'll be signed up for our text deal program. We send a text deal out every Wednesday. That is typically like a crazy deal on some type of premium disc. Sometimes we do like exclusive drops. We do all kinds of used discs go out through there, all kinds of stuff. And so many people just have no idea about it. Same thing with our Patreon. So many people just have no clue. A subscription box. So many people have no clue we do it. Heck, a lot of people on our YouTube don't even have any clue we have a like retail store online. I think part of it is since it's the same people of us, like same ones of us in all the content. If I say something during Grip Locked on Monday, I forget that the people watching our video on Tuesday is a completely different group. Like there's some overlap, yes, but it's a lot of different people. And then the people who are tuning into debate night on Wednesday are different people. And then the people who are watching the weekly warehouse on Friday are different people. And funny enough, there's a quote that I like have written down somewhere, but it should be what reminds me of this, but I just like always forget. But is you're marketing to a parade, not to you're marketing to a parade, not an audience. And basically what that means about is when people are walking by, if you're like, if your parade was going by and I was trying to tell everyone about Anthony Bedanza, because I have his disc right here. And I was trying to tell everyone about Bedanza disc golf. Well, if I say it once, the people in front of me from that parade are going to hear me. But 10 seconds later, those people are gone. So I have to basically nonstop say, watch Bedanza, watch Bedanza, watch Bedanza. He's probably going to clip that. But I have to nonstop say it because constantly people are coming through, and people who come in and hear you once, they're gone. And so that's something we actually do a pretty bad job at, in my opinion. I really want to, and we've always talked about it. It's just like so low on the priority list. It should be higher, of having internal marketing plans where it's like okay, this week, every piece of content is telling everyone about Patreon. Okay, next week, every piece of content is telling everyone about our subscription box. Okay, next week, every piece of content is telling everyone about our text deals. We have an app. Like the week after that, we need to be telling everyone, every piece of content needs to be telling everyone about our app. You can just go to your app store, search Foundation Disc Golf, and download it. Like we have so many of those little things that just people have no clue that we have them. And it just gets lost in the mix, to be honest with you. And that's on me because I'm the one that should be setting the priority list of that and steering the ship. And so when it slips off my plate and I'm not relaying the information to the marketing team or to the warehouse team or to whoever that needs to go to, then it ends up just falling off of their plates as well because I'm not prioritizing it and setting it of like, hey, we need to make sure this happens this week. So, yeah, see? Christopher said app. Yeah, we have an app. Just search, if you have a Google Play or Apple, just search Foundation Disc Golf. It's a great way to shop our site. We do go live in there every Friday. Yeah, fun stuff. So we are going to, we have a social media intern currently, and she's been doing a great job. But we're going to come May when she is done with school. She'll be leaving us, and we're going to be replacing her with most likely a part-time marketing person. We're trying to figure out exactly what that's going to look like. I don't want to get into the weeds too much as to whose roles might shift where, because that's not relevant to anyone except for those people. So we're trying to figure out exactly what that looks like. But I think when we have someone who's much more focused on, hey, social media / digital marketing is what I do, that's it, then a lot of that stuff will get picked up more because someone will be actually focused on it. Versus right now, it's just another thing on everyone's list. So, okay, we're gonna go with one or two more questions, and then we will finish it there. Caleb said, just got into disc golf the last few months because of Foundation. Y'all are the goats. I appreciate that, Caleb. We just did a survey on our Patreon, and we're about to do the survey to our whole email list newsletter. Because we're just trying to get data on, we want to get data on just know more about our audience, know more about people who are shopping with us and what they like so that we can cater what we do to them more and also have a better understanding of what we might not even realize people are looking for. But one thing I found interesting was when our patron members responded, the majority of people that got introduced to disc golf, which this makes perfect sense, were from their friends. And so, another big one, it was probably 12% found it on YouTube, which I think is a lot of people's story. But what's fun about it is it feels a lot of times okay, we are putting content out. Yes, we're doing stuff to grow the sport. That's awesome. And you can be watching that and just be like, oh, I want to be a part of that. I want to support Foundation, what they're doing, which is awesome. We love you guys doing that. And we have a lot of awesome ideas this upcoming year to grow the sport more. But honestly, some of the best things people can do to grow the sport is just take their friends out for a round. And we have some ideas too on like, hey, you know what? We should make more initiatives on that. Like as far as maybe like, I don't know. I don't want to spill it all, but we have different ideas on to how to encourage that. But that's like the number one way people find disc golf. It's just you go to your buddy and you're like, hey, why don't you come join me for this thing I love doing? And then they fall in love with it. And, you know, this was funny enough. This was about discipleship as a Christian and basically, you know, discipling people and how it can be a more one-on-one thing. But the concept applies to disc golf as well. So making, essentially, if I, across the course of my life as a disc golfer, find 5 people and I pour into them and they now love disc golf, it seems like I didn't do much to grow the sport. But if those 5 people go find 5 people, now we're at 25 people. If those 25 people go find 5 people each, that's what, 125 people? And you can see the growth of that, right? Like if everyone was just like, hey, across the span of me playing disc golf, I'm going to introduce the sport to 5 people. If everyone did that, well, then next thing you know, 10 years from now, we might legitimately, from you telling those 5 people that you love to play disc golf and you bring them with you and they fall in love with disc golf, you might have legitimately, from that, created 10,000 people that love to play disc golf. Like that's a scale of like, we can't do that. You know, we do a bunch of stuff to try to get people into disc golf. And yeah, across the scale of like years and years, I'm sure thousands and thousands of people have been introduced to disc golf from our content. But it's like, if we were to go out tomorrow and get 10,000 people to play disc golf, we can't. But if you go out tomorrow and get 5 people to play disc golf, and then those 5 people get 5 and 5 and 5, next thing you know, across a few years, you've done it. So don't describe it as a pyramid scheme. No, see, here's the thing, is pyramid schemes are only bad when it comes to money, right? As far as like, I'm not going to say any, it rhymes with Carrie May, right? I'm selling that, and then you're going to be under me. You're going to sell it, but to sell it, you got to pay me, and then that's when it gets bad. But if you look at it as just a pure growth model, it's genius, right? So take finances out of it, and it's just like, we're going to get people into the sport. Great model. Great model for growing the sport. Bad model for business. Illegal model for business, actually, at the root of it. But, you know, there's ways around it, I guess. It's multi-level marketing. It's not pyramid scheme, okay? So, final question. Does everyone at the company get free discs? How does that work? I ask because changing up your bag is such a big part of your content. So, the Foundation Disc Golf, the Enron Disc Golf. No, Foundation Disc Golf is not selling anything to people. I'm saying you can go spread the word of disc golf and hand people free discs and get them into the sport of disc golf and then let them play disc golf. That's what I'm saying. Don't take this the wrong way. It's just word of mouth. How does it work at the company? So for Trevor and I, essentially, yeah, we get free discs, quote unquote, basically because we need to promote whatever's on the site. For employees in general, and like for Connor, if there's certain discs that like he needs to drive or promote, like when he did his Clash only bag video that hasn't come out yet but is coming out eventually, those discs were all like, he got those because it's for a marketing purpose. So if it's for marketing, it's going to be thrown on our social media, it's going to be used in our videos, it's to drive traffic, then that's fine. But beyond that, our actual employees, they can purchase most discs from us at a discount. Certain limited releases, we don't let them purchase until, you know, it drops on the site. And once it's been on the site for a few days, okay, now if there's still some left over, we'll let our employees purchase. If they want to get those discs, they can just act as a customer and, you know, go on the site, buy them. But that way we make sure that when we have like super limited edition stuff, it's not like, okay, our 20 part-time employees took 20% of our inventory. That's just not fair to the audience, so we don't do that. But for the most part, you can buy it at a discount, and that's how it works for people who aren't using it in videos. We also, like, if we go and do a disc review or something where that disc has been a part of marketing, where we've used it to drive traffic, we will allow people like, okay, hey, this is going to go into certified used or going to wherever. But if anyone wants this, it's fair game. We've used it for marketing. It's not going to any of our bags. So if someone wants it, take it. But that's how our back end works when it comes to discs for employees and such. But that's going to wrap up Coffee Break today. Hopefully you enjoyed. Appreciate y'all tuning in, whether you're on YouTube or if you're watching on Instagram or if you're watching it later. We'll try to go live most weeks, but some weeks, if it doesn't work out timing-wise, I'll just record it and post it again. It's always fun going live because the questions obviously get asked straight away instead of, whether it be on YouTube or Instagram, instead of it being just strictly on the story. But I did have a few on the stories I didn't get to. Hopefully I'll get to those next week. I'll try to keep a list of the story questions I don't get to that are good, and I'll try to come back to those so we always have something there. But appreciate y'all tuning in, and I'll talk to you again later.